All right, Sarah. That is your pseudonym for today. We're not using your actual name because what you've done is agree to have this consultation and session recorded so that others who might be going through similar situation to yours might get some guidance through the session that we're about to have. I want to thank you on behalf of them as well. We've done one of these sessions so far, and it's helped greatly. So I think it's a brilliant idea for others who might be struggling and not know exactly how to get through these attachment style dilemmas that we're faced with. So thank you. I'm going to ask you to start by giving me the timelines of your relationship, when it started, where it started, and then when you started to notice it breaking down.
Hmm.
That would be helpful. So timelines are really important.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So, yeah, I think I'll probably discuss like my most recent relationship breakdown, which was my marriage. And so, from the beginning, I met my now ex-husband around it was around four years ago. And initially, I think that he came across like someone I really connected with intellectually, where I had struggled with that in the past. And so it was something that I was looking for, and just, yeah, we just had a lot in common, and it just made me feel very like seen, understood. He was very, very consistent in terms of whenever he said he was going to call or make plans to see me or whatever, there was just no there just didn't seem to be any conflict about that at all. And that was nice because I felt like he just kind of took the lead and would just make those things happen. And we would see each other consistently, kind of like when we were dating, sort of maybe like 3 times a week. And everything was just taken care of. He made all the reservations. He would like decide where we were going, whatever, pick me up, drop me home, everything. So, yeah, I guess pretty quickly I was sort of in a state of, I guess, like you could call it false intimacy, maybe, because it was so soon. I think maybe I would look at it like that now because we just had like a routine, I think, quite soon. And it was predictable and it felt like, okay, like I can get on board with this. So that's how we started off. And we had a lot of the same interests. So we would like to go out and do the same kind of things. And it was like hanging out with a friend. So yeah. And I didn't feel I'd heard those terms of like love bombing and like things like that, but before, but I just didn't get that kind of impression from him because there weren't any, to me, like there wasn't anything obviously lavish about what he was doing. It wasn't like he kind of wasn't saying anything that was like really grandiose statements or like over the top gifts or like anything like that. It just seemed very stable. And there were points where he'd spoken about his past where I was like, okay, this could be an issue in terms of just things that he'd like seen in his own childhood. But the way that he presented himself was just really like someone who would have had to have dealt with it to get to that, to get to a point where you could sort of, yeah, just like function normally, I guess. And I just didn't really delve into that much with him, like how he processed it or what kind of work he'd done or anything like that, which I think now I probably should have done, but I didn't. And yeah, after that, we kind of, I mean, I was 31 when I met him. I was 30 when I met him, and he was 35. And yeah, like pretty, like after around 3 months, we decided to get engaged, and we were married like kind of 4 months after that. So it moved pretty fast, but there was during the whole time we were dating up till we were married, I kind of felt like, yeah, everything was just it just naturally happened, and it didn't feel forced or anything. And then what happened was a couple of weeks before we got married, he got really, really sick, and he had quite a rare autoimmune condition.
Mm-hmm.
And that ended up, the way that that showed itself was he used to get like literally open like sores over his all over his body, and it was really devastating to see, and he was in a lot of pain. And a couple of weeks before we were meant to get married, like our family sat us down and kind of asked me, like, are you sure you still want to go ahead with this? Because this is like not, I mean, we didn't predict that it was going to work out that way. And if you want to get out of it, like, you know, and he said that to me too, that like, I understand if this is like too much for you to deal with right now. Because he was like basically unable to work, unable to like move very much. It was really severe. And I still went ahead with it, obviously. And I was like, no, you know, because when it comes to health, like it's not something that I could, the way I processed it was like, oh, I wouldn't be able to predict anything that happened with me in the future. So, and if I was in his shoes, then like, you know, how would I want him to react? And so, yeah, we went ahead, we got married, everything. And for the first year of our marriage, pretty much was extremely difficult because on top of like just having to adjust to like living with someone new and you know all the things that come with that, we were living with his mom at her house because it was the closest place to the hospital where he had to keep going back and forth to. And yeah, and I had just started a new job, and yeah, I was pretty much caring for him sort of on just like a logistical level. Like I would be working all day, and then in the evenings it would take me pretty much, I'm going to say on average like 3 hours a night to change all his dressings, to like sanitize everything, to like that. It was, when I think back to it now, I'm like, that was my life for like a whole year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was really, really tough to kind of go into this like caring role for someone that you were expecting to be the yeah the leader, the kind of like take charge person of the relationship. And that threw me into something completely different where I was, yeah, like caring not on just an emotional level, but like physically, financially, all of that. And I found that when he was really sick, he was really like, oh, like I'm so grateful, you're a really good wife, etc., etc. Like you're like my angel, all of those things. And it was actually only after he recovered and kind of he was an attorney, well, an attorney in the US, a lawyer in the UK. And once he had recovered and had started work, and I think that's where I thought this like dynamic would change. And yeah, it just didn't go at all the way that I thought it would. Yeah. And so what happened was once he recovered, I started to see patterns of him getting very frustrated, I guess, being expected to do more. Mm-hmm. Then obviously after having such a long period where he didn't. And then I was obviously my expectations weren't being met because I was like, oh, I thought this was like my chance now to sort of like have some of this, all of like this whole 1 year of whatever I'd done reciprocated. And that was when I started to see that in terms of our communication, he would just shut down. And yeah, like then when there was like real, like actual real things to discuss, real problems, he just couldn't sit down and face those things. And then that was kind of the start of where I felt like there were definitely points where I think I was explaining myself and over explaining and got into a habit of over explaining. And he would still look at me like he just didn't understand at all, like what I was trying to communicate. Mm-hmm. And that, like over such a long period of time, because that was like kind of the next like 2 years of our marriage, just my anxiety, my like fears, my like every kind of every wound, everything was just like all like at the surface then. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like it was really, really difficult to try and like regulate myself through that after feeling like so, yeah, just so misunderstood, so not seen. And yeah, it was a real struggle that affected, and I saw how it was affecting like my just, yeah, my health for sure. Like I felt it kind of like physically affect me too. And and then we kind of got into this habit where like, yeah, he would shut down, would not speak to me. And then after it could be like a few hours sometimes, would want everything to just go back to normal, whatever that was, without ever resolving anything. And my point would always be, but this is like, nothing's happened here. Like, no, we haven't got to the bottom of anything. Like, why is this? And it was like, oh, but you're the villain because you just don't want us to be happy. And like, that was always kind of put onto me. And I was like, is that true? Like, am I just not okay with being happy? Like, am I just always trying to like sabotage things? Like, the thoughts that would just play through my mind and the guilt that would come with that. And then it was like, oh, and also I'm still not 100% like recovered. And like all of this is like adding more stress to me. And, you don't care about me. And that was like said to me a lot, that like, you don't care about me and you don't love me. And to given what I've said about how our marriage started off, this was like completely insane to me. Because then you're like, okay, but I've like broken my back for you, and then that's the other wound, right? It's like that I'm not enough. And it's like and sometimes I think you can feel like that when you kind of know that, okay, no, I do really love this person, but maybe they haven't, I don't know, maybe they haven't felt it, maybe they haven't seen it, maybe whatever, right? Maybe you can justify it to some level. To me, it destroyed me, because I was like, but I've done everything. Like, I don't have anything else. Like, this was it. This was like the maximum like I could have possibly done for you. And to be told that that was not enough. Yeah, that really, yeah, the anxiousness, those kind of childhood triggers, everything was just on fire, to be honest, when I think about it now. And so that was a pattern that we got into. And then it escalated from being like, okay, I'm just going to shut down for a few hours, to, okay, I can't be around you for a few days, weeks. He would like have to go back and like stay at his mom's. During those times, like sometimes he would communicate, sometimes he wouldn't. There'd be times where he'd just completely like just shut off, like block me, like, and then would want to come back like nothing happened, pretty much. And it was just a never ending cycle, I guess, of that. And then I started to see that the more I was like, no, but I don't want a relationship like this. We need to kind of figure out how to break out of this. And I was like watching, it was like when I kind of came across like, attachment styles, a lot of like other videos and things. And I was like looking into it. And I tried like everything in the book to try and be like, okay, maybe if I just do this, maybe if I just do that, maybe if I like don't, it was like my way of being, okay, I'm just not going to talk about my needs for a while and see what happens. And like, maybe if I just don't, complain or whatever, then he'll feel like he has the space or the safety to relax. And then I'll get the person that I was dating, or the person I like whoever he was before we got married. And obviously that didn't happen. And then kind of even from that point, I felt like the more that I was trying to fix it, I guess, the more I saw the escalation in terms of his own like frustration, rage, anger, that got to a point where it got very violent at times. And there was points where I could tell, given his own like past and issues that he'd had with his own parents and upbringing and his own like kind of childhood story, that he would be like screaming at me things that just I knew were just not to do with me. It was like things that I'm sure he wished he could have said to his own mother, but couldn't. But even just having to witness that was really traumatic. There was like points where he'd break things. He had like it just became an environment that was just not okay. And it was just the more that I tried to like subdue things, the more angry he would get. And this was a guy, given that like everyone that had met my ex when we were dating were like, he's the most like calm, emotionally regulated person ever. Like super soft spoken, super just like, could talk through things, could work through it, like wasn't triggered very easily. So that was really shocking, because it was just someone I didn't recognize, I think, by the time it got to that point. And and then in terms of like the way it ended, there was a back and forth of this kind of yeah, this anger, this violence, all of these things. And then he would go completely like fine for like, I don't know, like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then until the next explosion.
Yeah.
And then around that time, around like this was all going on, and then in like early last year, well, like the summertime of last year, my dad had got really sick and went into hospital, and my dad passed away last September.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oof.
And yeah, my dad was like my favorite person on the planet. So it was really difficult. And me and my ex were going through a rough time. And it was just a point where I was like, okay, I just need this to pause because I need to just focus on what's happening with my dad. And he was there. He like used to come to the hospital with me and stuff and whatever. And then after he passed, he was there. I just don't think he could really. He never had any kind of relationship with his own father, and I think that was again something that came up where I don't think he could empathize very much with how I was feeling or the grief or anything like that. And I didn't. I think at that point I didn't really expect him to. I was just like, I just don't want this to continue. Like, I just don't want this, like the negativity and the anger and stuff. Like, if you can't support me, it's fine. But like, I just can't deal with this on top of my own grief. And I think for a few weeks he understood. It didn't last very long. The next time I can remember, like my dad passed away the end of September. I can remember, you know, after a few, like 3 days after the funeral, I remember thinking to myself, oh, like don't become depressed because like that's gonna like make things worse in your relationship or in your marriage. So like don't be that girl who's gonna be like, oh, like she's not the person I married, or she's not the person that I like fell in love with. So then I like actively was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to being whatever my version of normal is with him. And so I would just start doing the same things. Like I would like whatever, make dinner and we'd watch TV when he got back from work, and we would be like fine, I guess. And then my grief would be like after he'd gone to sleep, like that was the time where I felt like, okay, like I can just like release this, and I would just cry. And that just became like an everyday, like I couldn't do it in front of him. Like it was, yeah, it was a very, very strange time. And I never really experienced grief before that. I didn't really understand like how to process that. And yeah, and then in December it would have been like it was like the anniversary of like when we like had gone on our first date. So we'd usually do something that time. And so I planned something for that December. And I remember that yeah, he like had a huge like fight with me before we were planning to leave for this trip, like on the day. And I remember just being like, just begging and just being like, please, like, I just want a nice trip away. Like, I just can't do this. And it was just that constant thing where it's like, but it's your fault. But like, and there wasn't any consideration to be like, okay, like she's like gone through the roughest like 3 months ever. Like, let me just like keep a control of this. And then, yeah, and I left and I went on my own because I was like, I just can't, because I had like planned, yeah, I booked everything, I'd paid for everything. I was like, okay, I just want to go. And so I did. And yeah, and then when I came back, he was very apologetic, and the same thing. He had like his 3 days or whatever alone. And I was like, okay. And then this brings us to like this year, basically the beginning of this year. And yeah, and then I guess for a few weeks I thought we were fine again. We went away. Then he planned something for Valentine's Day, so in February, and we went away for the weekend, and that was like amazing, like probably the best weekend we'd had in a really, really, really long time. There was no friction. That was probably where it felt like, oh, like this is exactly how it was when we were dating. And then yeah, then we came back from that trip, and I was really happy, and I thought he was really happy, and we were in our routine, and we kind of we were like starting to like go out again and like have our date nights and things like that. And the day we ended the marriage, the night before we went out, we had dinner, we were like on the way home. He was like, oh, like let's go pick up some desserts. We came back, we watched a movie. He was like, said good night, I love you, whatever, went to sleep. The next morning we got into an argument about like our intimate life, which was like basically non-existent at that point. And like I was getting really upset and like frustrated about it. And I kind of got to a point where I just wasn't bringing it up. But that day I brought it up. And he was just like, I don't want to talk about this. why can't you focus on something else or whatever? And he packed his stuff and he left. And we just, that was it. It was over. And yeah, we never really, after that, I think we had maybe one conversation after like a couple of weeks. And that was the other thing where I was like, oh, okay, like he's avoidant, he's shut down. Like, okay, just give him some space. Yeah, no, he didn't contact me. He didn't reach out for like 2 weeks. And then I ran into him near both where we both worked, because we both worked quite close to each other. And it was the strangest thing. He looked straight through me, like as if he just like didn't acknowledge me at all. And then a couple of weeks after that, I had called him and we had a conversation. And I again tried to over explain things and just like, look, like this, I feel like this is why this happened. This is why this happened. Like, do you agree? Whatever. And he's like, yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, I think we can still talk about this. This could still potentially work. I've got some hospital treatment. We'll talk over the weekend. I was like, okay. And then when I was going to hang up the phone, he said, I love you. And I was like, okay. I was like, I love you too. That was the last time we spoke. I didn't hear anything after that.
And
Nothing.
when was this? When was the last time you heard from him?
No, this was the beginning of May.
Beginning of May, and we are in almost October.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was that. And then in July, I basically got a call from like our like religious like priest, I guess, just to tell me that he divorced me. And when he said that to me, I had got like 5 minutes afterwards, I got a text from him just saying, sorry, it had to be this way. Wish you all the best. And then he blocked me. And that was it. There was no other I've not heard anything since then. That was it. And then just got the legal papers and stuff, and that was it. There was nothing else. So
I'm so sorry. I am so sorry.
Yeah. I haven't had to tell that story in that kind of chronological order in a very, very long time. Yeah. So that's what's brought us that. So that was like the divorce was I found out about the divorce in July. So yeah, and now we're in October.
What did it bring up for you in sharing it in that chronological order?
In a way, I feel like it feels less chaotic now. I can put it into a timeline, rather than just like sometimes when I think I've thought back to it, it's so just like, what on earth was that? Like it just feels like it was just like a 3-4 years of chaos. To say it like that, I think it's it's helpful.
Yeah, it's generally like a tornado when we can't collect the thoughts and put them, streamline everything. Thank you for sharing that with me. That's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
What are you hoping that you can walk away from this session with?
So I think it's this. I think I just want like more of an understanding of this ability to like trust myself, I guess, where I think where I've like looked into attachment styles so much, and I've kind of become aware of the different ways that they do show up. I think I've got to a point where I'm just really confused sometimes, where I'm like, is this like my body or my mind's like way of protecting me, and like with good reason, or is it just being triggered by something in the past, or is it actually giving me a signal that I can trust? I think that's where I'm like really struggling with the anxiousness of it, because I'm like, okay, I understand this was like really traumatic what I went through, but also now where I've like recently started dating again. I mean, I obviously hadn't like spoken to my ex since like April time. So, and I'm finding it now where I'm like, oh, like, is this a problem or is it not? Is it like it's just this constant back and forth of like, is this something that I'm going to where I'm going to push someone away because I'm being too needy or too anxious or wanting too much, like kind of how he obviously made me feel for so long, where it was like, oh, but if you hadn't done this, then this wouldn't have happened. If you hadn't done it, then you wouldn't have brought out this reaction. Mm-hmm. Or is it something that I should be like, oh no, like actually this is a sign that, I could end up in a similar situation. I should listen to it. Yeah, I think that's that's where
So I've had clients who've asked similar questions, and I think what they're really asking, correct me if I'm wrong, is how do I know what's being driven by fear and what's a real need?
yeah, yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, and what needs are it's so strange because I'm like everyone has their different needs and it's like but what needs are okay, I
What's
guess, and what
normal and what's not normal?
yeah, and what's normal and what's like yeah, what's something that should be a bit like oh okay, like maybe this isn't like maybe this need isn't yeah, like you said normal or maybe it's something that I do need to be like oh okay, like I should be more curious about this, maybe I should work on this. And like getting and the for me personally, it's like the guilt of like wanting what I want. And I'm like I feel like bad that I have those needs. So,
All right.
yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're questioning if and how you can trust yourself to make the right decisions this time.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't want to make the same mistakes, even though you can't really pinpoint what was a mistake or not a mistake.
Yeah.
All right. You just don't want to get hurt again.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that
yeah.
is the normal for every human being.
Yeah.
That is the only normal, I believe, for every human being. When it comes to you and relationship and your needs, what's normal and not normal is entirely up to you. And that's
Mhm.
because you will have different needs from others. You'll have different
Mhm.
wants, different desires. Okay. You want to pinpoint those. I don't believe you're a victim of anything. I don't like making people feel like a victim. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you haven't gone through some incredibly difficult times, but I want you to know that you do have the power within you to heal and get out of this and make choices that would be best for you. All right.
Yeah.
So, whatever I say to you, it's in an effort to guide you. It's not to,
Yeah.
like I hear across social media, victim shame. It's nothing
Yeah.
of the sort. All right.
Yeah.
So if I use you statements,
Yeah.
it's really to help,
Sure.
bring you to where you are, understand what's happened in the past. Maybe there are certain things, you may want to tweak a little bit or understand or
Yeah.
empathize with someone else. What I've heard here from our conversation of what you've shared is that there is a need for boundaries
Mm.
with yourself,
Mhm.
right? And from that place, you speak to the other person, setting the boundary with yourself and then speaking to the other person. Now, I want you to just list a few needs that you have in a relationship, a romantic relationship.
I think I have a need for consistency and like predictability to some level. I really, really value that. I don't mind. I don't necessarily mind like what the like how like as in terms of the like amount of like whether it's communication. I just want it to be the same. That's like whether it doesn't matter if it's like once a week. I just want to know that like that's it. It doesn't necessarily need to be like every day or whatever. I just need a pattern, like something that I can settle into. Otherwise, my nervous system just feels like really out of control. I think definitely, yeah. I think I mentioned obviously that one of the issues we were having was like with the physical intimacy with my ex, where I just felt like he couldn't like open up or couldn't like there was just a lot of issues there. So that I realized, yeah, it's like a really big like need for me, and yeah, probably the I think it's what everyone wants, which is like the feeling of like being seen and being understood and considered. And yeah, that I just feel like I didn't. Yeah, I just haven't experienced that. So that's sorry, it's just my cat. Yeah, that yeah, I just feel like I would really. I don't know if I could be in another relationship of feeling like that or not. Yeah, not valued and appreciated.
Okay.
Yeah.
When it comes to human beings, especially those with insecure attachment styles like the anxious attached or the avoidant
Yeah.
attached, it is not consistent and it's not predictable because they're generally people who are yet to learn how to control how they respond and react. These are
Yeah.
people, when an outside trigger happens, they react and respond without calming down and then
Yeah.
deciding on how they're going to respond or react. So
Right.
as long as you're dating someone who has any of these insecure attachment styles, the anxious or the avoidant, what you can expect, what is going to be consistent and predictable, is their inconsistency and
Yeah.
unpredictability.
Right.
If they're not, and they have that attachment style, that's when we really worry.
Yeah.
That's when we're like, oh, something's going on here. They're either
Yeah.
hiding and going to therapy and they know how to respond or react, or this is
Yeah.
massive manipulation.
Right.
Okay?
Right. But then what happens when it doesn't show up, like in the beginning? Because I think that was like my really big fear too, where I was like, I couldn't see this at the beginning. Because I was like, I know that's what I needed. And that's what
And you're never going to. You're never going to. It's like going for a job interview. We go with our best selves, right?
Yeah.
We go with our best selves. And when it comes to relationships, we don't know the other person as yet. We're going on dates with them. So we really don't care if they end. I mean, yes, it's probably going to hurt our feelings a little bit if, they say, well, I'm not interested in going out with you anymore. But it's not devastating. So there isn't that big concern that if we show parts of ourselves, they're going to walk out. It's more a, so what? I'm not emotionally invested. So with the avoidant attached, the more emotionally invested they get into the relationship, the more scared they get, because what if, I really like this person now. What if they leave me? So I start to back off, and then I start to test to see how they're going to react, which I'm really testing you so that you could, I don't know, get pissed off. And then you react to me, and that confirms that, oh, this person really doesn't like me. So there's self-sabotage and all of that that comes into play. So the beginning of the relationship, it's always nice and rosy. The anxious attached too. They see things they don't like, but they don't say anything. Like, you just mentioned, it took years for you to actually say, hey, there's a problem with our physical intimacy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And now when he hears that 4 years after, he thinks, wait a second, what was the truth? So he's also wondering, like, wait, I thought she was okay with the physical intimacy.
Yeah.
So what was really true and what's not true?
Right.
See, what we don't realize is that the other person is also struggling with the same questions we have after a breakup. Both persons are, you're both chameleons. You don't really know each other. And by the time the relationship ends, that's when everybody is saying things that they should have said throughout the relationship. And then everybody's left there wondering, well, what was real and what wasn't?
Yeah.
Well, what was real is that you both cared deeply about each other. You loved each other. You wanted a lifetime together. But and because you did, you were afraid to speak your truth. And so the other person didn't quite get to know the real you. And the thing about us human beings is that we're really smart. We know when something's going on. We know when the other person's not being completely honest or forthcoming. Right? Let's talk about the trusting. How are you going to trust yourself? So you want consistency, you want predictability. What I've found with attachment styles is, even though we might be able to heal our attachment style, which is a lot of work. It's not just collecting the information on social media. And, one of the things that you mentioned is that you changed your behavior sort of like to keep the peace.
Yeah.
When he deactivated, you kind of said, okay, I'll just step back and let him do his thing. Or when you got back home, you were grieving the loss of your dad, and you kept the peace so that you didn't upset him.
Yeah.
Right. When we do those things, we're encouraging them to continue being the way they are, because they sense our fear. They sense our fear. And every human being will do this. They'll ride on it. Right. He shouted at you. He broke stuff. Again, just to remind you, there's no shaming here, okay? This
Yeah.
is just so the next time somebody tries this crap with you,
Yeah.
you're able to say, hell no, not to
Yeah.
me. I'm not afraid of losing you. I'm more afraid of losing myself.
Right. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
Now, when they act this way, and the anxious attached will do this too, they break stuff, shout, and stuff like that. If they get away with it the first time, they'll
Yeah.
try it a second time. And when they
Yeah.
get away with it the second time, then I'm sorry for you. They'll keep doing
Yeah.
it. Human beings from childhood will push and push and push to see how far they get.
Yeah.
And that is why, it's so important to set boundaries. You set the boundary with yourself. How do I feel when this person raises their voice? How do I feel when they break something? How do I feel inside? What was that feeling like for you? If it's uncomfortable, remember, we could stop.
No, it's okay. It was just, yeah, I totally feel, if I'm honest, I felt like I totally regressed into like just being in a very like childlike state of just complete fear, where I didn't grow up in any kind of like abusive household or anything. Like they weren't even really like, and my parents like argued sometimes, but it was not like, anything that I would consider like really unhealthy or violent or anything like that. But the part that I missed was like I'd already been in an I'd been in an abusive marriage before this for a couple of years. So that where I'd got divorced about 3 years, 3.5 years before I met my last husband. It took me back to that, which was like I would probably say was like was definitely more violent than my last marriage. But yeah, it was just that it was that actual fear of like I could. There's no other way to, like I could die. Like it was to that level. So yeah, just complete freeze.
Mm-hmm.
And just not knowing how to like come out of that or how to like react to that. And that's where I could feel it in my body, where it would take like hours, sometimes like days, for my body to feel okay after like and experiencing like an episode like that or
Mm-hmm.
witnessing something like that. Yeah, like my heart would race, like I would not be able to like eat or sleep, or I would start getting like weird like rashes on my skin, like all kinds of stuff. I was just like losing my hair. That happened a lot. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm. Well, as I was talking about the patterns, we heal our attachment style. Even when we do heal, we are going to be able to recognize the avoidant and anxious attached. I mean, I was anxious attached, so healing, I could recognize them. Like within a few seconds, I could tell who's who,
yeah,
right? But I find that you're still attracted to this one personality over and over and over.
yeah.
And so even though, you are going to heal your attachment style, you can see from now that you've had a pattern of choosing persons who are
Oh
abusive.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was strange because I felt like with my first husband, I felt like he kind of fit into, and I'm obviously this is not like my area of expertise, but I felt like he much more fit into like the narcissistic personality type, like was very kind of like overtly just the way he kind of handled things and did things, it was very different. So then after that, in one sense, I was like, okay, yeah, no, I know what this was like. I'm gonna pick the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put those two guys together, that you think they're like very different characters, very different.
Yeah.
I think that was what shocked me as well, because I was like, oh, but I tried to go for the very like controlled, soft spoken, like whatever. Like my first husband was not like that at all. So I was like, no, I'm gonna go the other end of the spectrum. And then I was like, oh, over here it's still dangerous. So now I'm like, now where do we go? Like,
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, it's so difficult
The
to,
trust factor.
yeah,
In my culture, we have this saying, in Guyana specifically, we have this saying that it's the easy snakes that bites the hardest. And I think they knew about attachment styles way back then, and it didn't
yeah,
have a name to it. A lot of times when people are really quiet, especially the avoidant attached, there are many reasons. Insecurity, one of them. They've reported that they're socially awkward, so they get into their head thinking about what's the right thing to say, what's the appropriate thing to say, and then they decide that, okay, it's better not to say anything. But it
yeah,
comes across to the rest of the world as confident,
yeah,
as in control, as independent, right? And
Right.
it can be very misleading. And this is why we want to ask questions to see how they respond. So you're dating now, you can ask questions. And as you're asking questions, to spot the avoidant attached or the anxious attached, no, you ask questions looking for feelings. So they'll share. Avoidant attached will share. Anxious attached will share. The avoidant attached generally will share about experiences and incidences, but they won't share about how they felt about it. Their feelings, vulnerability. So try to ask a question that pulls out a feeling. How did you feel about that thing that happened to you? And see how they respond. If they respond with, oh, it wasn't a big deal, I managed with it.
Yeah.
Then more than likely, that's one. The anxious attached, they have no issues with sharing way too much, way too soon. Okay, so they'll talk about their feelings, they'll talk about past experiences, because they're not afraid of being vulnerable. They're not afraid of that information being used against them later.
Yeah.
I think they should, but they're not. I think they should rein it in a little.
Yeah.
Now, if we could go back to when you guys first met, the first 3 months, what are some of the things that you saw that felt a little off emotionally and physically?
Okay, so I think I'm just gonna switch the light on, sorry. Give me 1 second.
And as you're switching on the light, I'm going to use the opportunity to say that if anyone who's listening to this podcast, you could hear me too, right, Sarah?
Yeah.
Listening to this recording, it's a good idea to ask ourselves these questions. You know, if you are in therapy or not, ask yourself, within the first 3 months, what did I feel that was off, emotionally or physically? It's interesting because every time you ask this question, you will find that there you have these thoughts floating around in your head. They're always there, but asking the question out aloud helps you to find it and kind of like pick at it and pull it out and say, oh, you've been there. So you will remember stuff.
Yeah.
It's just you never paid attention to them. So let's go. Give me a few things that happened.
Okay, so the first couple of dates we went on, everything was, I felt like everything was fine. I think it was on our third date. And then after we got back, I felt like something had changed. Like he just, I don't know, something, his just energy, I guess, just like felt a bit different. And like, I asked about it. I was like, is everything okay or whatever? And he was like, yeah, no, it's fine. Like, I'll just talk to you after work. I was like, okay. I just felt like something was off. And then when we spoke, I was like, okay, what's up? But he was like, I'm just having like some concerns. And I was like, okay, concerns like what? And then he said, I don't know if I'm physically attracted to you. And I was like, okay. It's like, that's a weird thing to say after a third date. Cause I was like, you would have known that within like 5 minutes of the first date, right? Like, it was a bit strange to me. So I was like, okay. And I remember saying like, that's totally okay. Like, if you don't feel that, then that's fine. We can just end this conversation here. And like, thanks for the dates and like, bye. And I remember his reaction was very like kind of confused that I had that reaction, because I just wasn't, there was just nothing to argue about. And he was just,
how dare you not beg and grovel?
Yeah, I was just like, okay, like, and he was like, oh, like, that's all you have to say. And I was like, well, yeah, like, I was like, attraction is like one of those things, you know, like if you don't feel that like physical connection with me, like, that's okay. Like, good luck, like, bye. And he's like, oh, okay. And then, so we just ended the conversation there. And then I didn't hear from him for like, I don't know, maybe like 3 or 4 days. And then he messaged me and was like, I really want to speak to you. I was like, okay. And then he called and then came to, was like, I really want to have this conversation in person. Please let me come and see you or whatever. He came. I was like, I don't, like, what's up? And he was like, I made a really big mistake. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know why I said that. Like, I did feel it. Like, I don't know why felt like I wanted to push you away. But then you did go away. That's not what I wanted. I was like, oh, okay. I found that that's never happened to me. Like any time I've ever dated a guy. So this is like it just confused me a bit. So I was like, okay. And he seemed like really like genuine about it. So was like, please, like, just give me another chance, etc. I was like, okay. And yeah, that's something that I think like came up way like it wasn't something that he brought up like often, but like towards the end of the relationship, yeah, it came up where it was like, but I wasn't even attracted to you. Like that's why like I didn't want to be intimate with you or whatever. And it was like such a cutting thing, like 3 years into a marriage to say that.
That's horrible.
Yeah, but it was like I don't know whether it was like the universe or whatever, like trying to show me where it's like, oh, remember this came up? Remember this came like right at the beginning? And it was that thing where I was like, oh, this feels a bit weird, but okay, I'm just going to like go with it. Terrible idea.
All right.
So,
what I would suggest is start working through that and remind yourself, know for yourself that his I'm going to use the word cruelty. It's not a you thing. This is not about you. Yeah. Because if you really felt that way, that he was not attracted to you, yeah, he would not have stayed that long. A lot of times, and I want us to stay with this for a little bit because you want to look for these things in your next relationships. Now, it seems like he leans more to the dismissive side of a fearful avoidant. What makes him a fearful avoidant? He speaks. He talks about feelings. He's capable of it. Yeah. A dismissive avoidant will just shut down and not care about communicating anything, right?
Right.
So he's fearful avoidant, but leans more dismissive. Now, he said that he's not sure why he even said what he said. Okay. I might agree and say, okay, you know what? He said this stupid thing and he doesn't even know where it comes from. It's called self-sabotaging. It's also a part of testing. Let me see, and a lot of it happens unconsciously. Yeah. We don't realize why we're doing it. And then it's done, and then the person is like, oh, sure, yeah, whatever. Yeah. And we're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I'm going to lose this person. This person's really nice. I'm just making a big deal out of nothing. I don't even know this person. Let me try harder. Yeah. Right. Now, also, this is the thing that makes the avoidant attracted to that person they're dating, because that person is showing them boundaries. Yeah. It's saying, okay, you don't want to be with me. That's all right. What they're hearing is this person knows their worth, and you do. You know your worth. You just get sucked into the relationship afterwards and you start contorting yourself to make yourself, I don't know, attractive for them. Yeah. But what they really do appreciate and find attractive is the fact that you could stand up for yourself. Yeah. And you saw that in the very beginning. Yeah. Now, how does that happen? Because you're not goo goo gaga in love with him as yet. Yeah. You're getting to know him. So what's important is that you try to lengthen that process, the getting to know them, a little longer. Yeah. Right. Or in my case, a lot longer. Yeah. You wait to see how they're showing up, and you'll have that feeling. Mm-hmm. So after this conversation or a conversation like this, what you want to do is say, oh, thank you for letting me know. Hang up the phone, back off. Right? Yeah. Now, it doesn't feel good. You want to check in with your feelings. How does this feel? Doesn't feel good. Mm-hmm. Do I want someone like this in my life? Yeah. I mean, you said it once. Can I forgive you? Sure. Yeah. Do I need to let you back in my life? It's quite a damaging thing to say. Oh, yeah. Yeah. These little things stay with us for years. And it affects every area of our life. We think that it affects only our relationships. Yeah. But it affects your workplace, how you show up, how you sit, how people talk to you. You hear that stupid little voice in your head over and over and over. Yeah. Yeah, it does. Right. It's a much bigger thing. And I think that I think that that's a really good point, that it's so much easier to
assert yourself like that and your boundaries when you're just not so like heavily involved. I think I've just struggled with that because it's just so, because I'd also say like I'm one of those people where it's not the kind of, whether it's the like the intellectual like mental connection or whatever that I have with like men doesn't really happen very often. So it's like, oh, it just really throws me off. Like when I get that, then I'm just like, oh, this is like so special because it's like it doesn't, it's quite rare for me, rather than just kind of like men that are interested in me. Like that happens, but it's, yeah, for me to kind of feel the same kind of interest back. And then I'm like, because obviously it's happened like this where like, okay, the last like couple of like, you know, serious relationships, marriages that I was in ended up this way. It's almost like I've associated like my interest with in a guy with being dangerous, because now I'm just like, oh, any guy that like I feel interested in is like gonna be, yeah, is gonna be problematic or have like some kind of red flags or whatever that I'm missing. And so that's where I'm struggling to be like, okay, then do I just, or like what's the alternative? Do I just end up with someone who I'm like not that into, or like, you know, it's
Oh, no, not at all. I think what would be helpful is just prepare yourself. Remember, as human beings, we want to know what's coming at us.
yeah,
If we know what's coming at us, then we could relax,
yeah,
right? And how do you why or how do you relax? By knowing that you could control it. Let's say, you're in a house and you're not in the safest environment,
yeah,
and anyone could break in at any time. You're going to
yeah,
make sure that you have enough to protect you. You have ways of protecting you, so you prepare yourself. Now, how do you prepare yourself with human beings? You make sure that you're capable of handling it. And how do you do that? You've learned from your past experiences that perhaps we want to take our time getting to know people.
mm,
Perhaps we want to start calling it for what it is, the reality of what it is. I'm not going on a date with someone, I'm going to have coffee with them. The
right,
moment we use the word date, we're setting ourselves up for thinking that this could be a future thing. We're
yeah,
probably going to be with them for the rest of our lives. But look at it as, I'm just having coffee with this person. It's a human being. I'm getting to know them. That's it. Nothing more. Yes,
right,
I had a great conversation. I had a great time discussing topics that I liked at this coffee or at this
yeah,
dinner. But that's
yeah,
all there was to it. So you've got
yeah,
to talk to yourself. You've got to coach yourself after
yeah,
every meeting. And,
yeah,
people ask, well, isn't that a lot of work? If you want to protect yourself, yes. If you want to go and take some jujitsu classes to protect yourself, it is work.
yeah,
And it is for everyone. The difference is somebody with a secure attached style, they've had that kind of classroom all their lives. So they know how to say, stop, that hurts, or no, I'm stepping away.
yeah. It's yeah. And I think with like, I don't know if it's the same kind of like across the board, but I feel like definitely with online dating, I feel like it's just the when women do kind of put down their boundaries or assert themselves or whatever, I've just found like definitely recently that like a lot of men are really triggered by that and really yeah, they will just use every like term to be like, oh, like, but you're expecting too much, you're being too picky, you're being like, just they will throw everything at you and to kind of just be like and not have like that like second guessing yourself,
Mhm.
I guess, to be like, oh, okay, like are they, is there some truth in this? Am I just self-sabotaging because I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel good like one time, but this person's put in like all this effort with me or whatever, and because I don't feel good for like this 5 minutes, I'm willing to just cut it off and just walk away.
Yeah.
Is that the right thing to do? It's something I'm really struggling with now.
If it doesn't feel good and, it's not coming from a place of fear. So, for example, someone's saying after 3 dates that, I'm not really attracted to you. And they're not saying, I mean, first of all, there's no need to say that to
Oh
someone,
yeah,
right? I mean, you don't want to go out
yeah,
with someone anymore. Just say, hey, it was really nice meeting you. It was
right,
nice hanging out, but I don't see this
right,
going anywhere. But you
yeah,
say something to hurt, that you're looking for a reaction.
yeah,
You're looking for a reaction.
right,
You want to be able to tell. I mean, this. You know that it's just a mean freaking thing to say,
yeah.
right? So what do you do in a case like this? You are self-sabotaging if you choose to walk towards it,
Right. But then
right?
what but then what about if it's like so if it's in terms of like communication, right? Or it's like consistency and like things like that. If that's something where I'm like, okay, like I don't like the level of communication or whatever, how do you know when you're like, okay, am I asking for too much? Is this like not normal
All
for
right. So usually in relationships, you just start going out with each other, you just start seeing each other. Once a week is fairly, okay, where it's
yeah.
like, hey, let's make plans to go out. Now, there's something that we don't pay a lot of attention to. I think men are struggling with this with us women. We all have a healthy masculine, a healthy feminine energy within us, each human being. This
Yeah.
isn't a man woman thing, right?
Right.
Because of the attachment style, how we were brought up. I would imagine you grew up with both parents.
Yeah.
Your father was the quiet one?
No, well, no, actually, my father was like life of the party, like very,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, very kind of.
I'm sorry, I should have corrected that. Let me correct it. With your mom, the two of them, which one was the quiet one?
Oh, that's it's really difficult to say. There was moments where they had like both of them kind of were very in sync with each other. There were moments where my mom's like super like overly, like emotional, like would need like whatever, and my dad would like kind of be the solid one. There were times when my dad would be like a little bit more, but I'd say yeah, more probably yeah, more my dad was the more kind of like
Quiet.
solid one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Which was the parent that you felt you had to kind of parent?
my mom.
Okay. So when that happens,
Yeah,
our masculine energy, the unhealthy masculine energy,
yeah,
grows. Okay.
right,
So when the unhealthy masculine energy, why it grows is because it now needs to step in and protect the mother in
right.
the relation, the mother, take care of the mother.
I
Okay.
yeah, I've never thought of it like that. Yeah,
And the unhealthy masculine, I mean, you're young, you were supposed to be cared for. Not to say that your parents didn't love you, right?
yeah,
Parents are generally just trying to figure things, parenting out on their own, right? So the unhealthy masculine grows. And why is it an unhealthy masculine? Because in a relationship with a partner, if
yeah,
you want your partner to be the protector and the provider,
yeah,
you cannot be in the role of
yeah,
the masculine. Because if
yeah,
if you're in a role of the masculine, which is to protect, to provide, to set goals, to go out and conquer, pretty much, right? And then you have a partner and you want that partner to be in that masculine role as well, then you have two masculine energies clashing.
yeah, right.
So, and one of you will feel emasculated at some
Yeah,
point or the other. Okay.
yeah,
So that's one of the things you want to work on healing. What does the healthy feminine role looks like, and how is it developed? You know that you are worthy of love. You're valuable in a relationship. You know what you bring to the relationship, your goodness, your kindness, your compassion, all of these things you bring, your thoughtfulness, you bring that into the relationship. So knowing who you are, what you bring to the relationship, how much value you add to your partner's life will let you see your worth, not just your partner, everyone around
yeah,
you. Now, when
yeah,
you could see your worth, you don't have to chase. You could just sit back and say, thank you. Thank you for noticing that I'm wonderful in your life.
yeah,
Thank you for appreciating me. It's a lot of thank you and
yeah,
receiving. So, what's the role of the feminine energy? We support, we listen, and we support the partner, because that's the person who goes out there and does the job and whatever,
yeah,
bring the bread on the table,
yeah,
right? And where do we use this masculine energy? Because we have it too, right? You and I, we
right.
have it
Yeah,
in this setting, in our work setting. Like right
yeah,
now, I'm in my masculine energy. My partner doesn't see me in this energy.
yeah,
Now, what does the unhealthy? A lot of people will say, "Well, I'm in my feminine energy."
mm,
What makes it unhealthy? When we're begging and pleading, when we're
mm,
throwing a tantrum, when we think that an ultimatum or being assertive
mm,
is a boundary, right?
mm,
Our boundary is saying, okay, you don't find me attractive. I appreciate you telling me. I respect that. I wish you all the best.
yeah,
And you want to come back in my space a few weeks after? Yeah, let me think about that.
Yeah.
I like to imagine it this way. Think of yourself as a queen.
Mm.
Imagine one of the peasants coming
Yeah.
to the queen and saying, I don't think you should be queen. I don't like you as queen. What do you think happens? You think
Yeah.
that queen is begging or no? Not to say that our partners are, but we don't know them as yet. We haven't built a
Yeah.
relationship. We don't know what kingdom they're from,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
So,
That's a good way of thinking about it.
yeah, yeah. So I think, and you want to be gentle with yourself. These are things that we did not know. And we were put in positions as children to somewhat feel unsafe with our parents, wanting to make our parents happy again so that they can love us,
Yeah.
so they can parent us. We parent them so they could parent us, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, you could make your decisions based on your initial feelings and give yourself 3 months. Just the first 3 months is really take into account what's happening on these coffees and dinners that
Yeah.
you go on,
Mhm.
right? The way I would advise you to do it is after a meeting with someone,
Uh-huh.
you go home, sit quietly in your sofa, think
Mm.
about the night, think about what was said, and really tap into your feelings. How did I feel about this? Now, if you have a feeling like something's off, but I can't pinpoint it,
Huh.
that is coming from a higher consciousness. It is coming from a deeper knowing within you.
Mm.
If it is the fear, anything driven by fear,
Mm.
more than likely that's signaling something that needs to be healed. I fear if I don't act this way, they're not going to like me. Let's talk about the grieving. It's
Mm-hmm.
normal to grieve, it's normal to be human.
Yeah.
You want to be able to say to your partner, like, look, I'm being human right now.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time.
Yeah.
If you're uncomfortable with it, there's the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
But when it's coming from a fear that I can't be myself because it's going to upset someone, this is time to speak up.
Right. Right. Mm. And what
Anything,
about
go on, sorry.
outside of like the? I think maybe it probably is the same with like a lot of women where like outside of the dates when it's like if you like you said like I think that's normal like once a week if you see
Mm-hmm.
someone or like
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but then it's the time in between where like I really struggle where it's like yeah I don't want like to yeah, I guess you could call it like just overthinking everything and
Yeah.
like not being able to relax. Like if you don't like hear from them for a day or whatever, like what would you say that like a good way is to kind of handle that?
If you're in a relationship, it's been established that you're in a committed relationship with this person. You're physically intimate, you're meeting friends and family, you're planning a future,
Yeah,
talking about a future, and you don't hear from them, say, within 24 hours, not even a
yeah,
text. Also,
yeah,
take into consideration what their lifestyle is like, right? How
yeah,
busy they are, you know their
yeah,
patterns. And you don't hear from them. To be in a healthy feminine energy,
yeah,
you don't have to reach out, but you wait until you have another meeting with them.
yeah,
And you say something like, when I don't hear from you,
mm,
it concerns me,
mm,
makes me feel like we're not in a committed relationship.
mm,
You want to get to a point, regardless of how long you've been together, to say, if we're no longer in a committed relationship, I would respect that.
mm,
You want to know. I know organizations have set us up to believe that marriage is forever. I get it.
yeah,
And when it doesn't work out, we are devastated.
yeah,
But you want to be strong enough to know that should anything happen in your life, you will be fine on your own. You'll be okay. It'll
yeah,
hurt and eventually you'll be fine.
yeah,
So you want to say to them that, look, this is how I feel. When I don't hear from you, I feel like we're no longer in a committed relationship. You're talking about your feelings.
Yeah.
And then you leave it there
Mm-hmm.
and see how they show up. And if they keep showing, they're unable to match you where your boundary is, because that's the
Yeah.
boundary, you've just set it, right?
Yeah. Right.
If they're unable to match you there, then you've got to ask yourself, am I going to tolerate this for the rest of my life?
Right. Yeah.
And how do you act then? You could wait and meet with them again and say, this would be the best way of going about this, right? It'll take
Yeah.
some strength, but this is the way I would recommend you go about this.
Yeah.
You've shown that you're not really committed to this.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that. I'm sure you've got your reasons.
Mm.
I would like some time to consider my next move.
Mm.
And then it is no BS. You're not just saying this to create a response, because more than likely, if you're dealing with a fearful avoidant or an anxious attached person, more than likely they're going to, the fearful avoidant or dismissive will feel rejected, pull back, but then they come in, right? They come in harder to win you over. The anxious attached would probably start begging right there.
Right.
You want to be serious. You want to be really serious about what you're saying. And then you take that time to really think about how you want to move forward. And it's got to change. What you have to keep in mind, and this is about your ex as well, just in case he should come back. Know that the relationship will never be the same. You're starting a whole new relationship, even if you've only met this person 6 months ago. And there's now a break. You're starting all over. New rules.
Yeah.
New ways of showing up in the relationship.
Yeah.
No more leeway. And now trust has been broken. So let's work on rebuilding that trust.
But then what about in dating? Because I feel like when people have those wants or those needs in a relationship, the confusing part I find is, so say for example, if I'm like, okay, well, like I would like, I don't know, if I'm in a committed relationship with someone, to like have like some kind of contact or check-in or whatever once a day. But then it's like when you're dating someone exclusively or whatever, and you're like, you play this role where you're like, oh, it doesn't bother me if you like don't text me for 3 days, or you don't, like, it's fine. But then once you're in a relationship or you put like a label on something, then you kind of change that. Then I feel like the other person's like, but this didn't bother you like 2 weeks ago, or like this, like that's what I mean. And then
okay, so you could state that. You could say, well, look, we're just trying to figure out where things are. We're just getting to know each other. So it's fine if you want to, message just once a week. As it is right now, I'm good with this.
Yeah. But do you think it's important?
However, if we should have a long-term relationship, I would expect some more communication.
Okay.
Yeah. You set it clear in the beginning. If they ask, the thing is, you will know when they start to show more interest. What you're looking for is how the relationship develops.
Mm-hmm.
And if you start to notice there's a big change in it, you're watching, right? The first dating really is to look and see. It's to watch this person, take notes, right? And when you notice that things are not as it was, you don't want to ask what's going on. You want to state what you're seeing. You don't ask what's going on. Because
could you give me an example? Like, what would you like? How would that look?
All right, you're putting me back in my. I have to go back to my relationships here. Okay, hang on. So, all right. Let's say I've been talking to someone every day for a week. Or messaging, some form of communication every day. And in the second week, there's a drastic change. It's like, haven't heard in like 2 days, 3 days. I would state, I've noticed that there's been a shift in energy. We're not communicating as we used to. I trust everything's okay. So what I'm saying is, I've noticed it. I'm not asking you what's going on, but I've noticed it.
Right.
If it continues on, I would meet whenever I met with them, and I don't call or text, or I don't do that. I would, let me preface, because people usually come bashing. I am in a relationship with someone. We've been in a relationship for a long time. I know his patterns. We see each other often. There's no need to text each other unless it's absolutely necessary. That's what I meant. But if let's just say I'm dating someone for new, if I see that pattern continues and I do meet with that person again, it would be a conversation where I would more than likely say, I don't know what's going on, but it seems like you're not at a place for a serious committed relationship or a healthy committed relationship.
Mm.
And what it also means is that from the time I would have said, I don't know what's going on, I hope everything's okay,
Yeah.
to the time I meet them, I'm thinking about, does this work for me? Is it in alignment with what I want my future partnership to look like?
Right. Yeah. That's really good advice.
And what I notice is that a lot of times people are saying things to provoke a response, to make that person suddenly realize that they're going to leave. So I'm going to try to say something so that they come to some realization and fight for the relationship. Humans know when they're being manipulated.
Yeah.
So you want to be sure within yourself. I would advise you to write a list of things that you love about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And how do you get that list? Think about your friends and your family. What are the things that they admire about you? How do they benefit from you being a human being?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other list, things that you don't like about yourself that you want to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then the things that you don't want to work on, make your peace with it.
Yeah.
Make your peace with it so that you just learn to love who you are.
Yeah.
Right? I've shared this story before. My dad once said, he's like, you have really crooked toes or something of the sort.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I looked at my toes and I'm like, yeah, but I could walk with them. So it's something that I remember and I laugh about because it helps us to, there's certain things about us we just can't change.
Right.
Right. And just find the thing that you could be grateful for.
Yeah.
All right. So get that list. And from that list, you're going to see your worth to others and you start to build up your own value as you work, as you elevate who you are, keep growing like these sessions, for example. It's like a house and you're adding stuff to it. You're renovating it. So the value goes up. So the more you work on yourself, look at that as an investment into a being that you love. Fall in love with yourself, meaning just the same effort that you put into other people, the kindness that you show them, like you shut up and you write the piece, do that for yourself. Be kind to yourself. Fall in love with you. Okay?
Yeah.
Learn to listen to your feelings. Don't question them, just listen to them. The more you listen to your feelings and you start to say no, which is going to be uncomfortable for you now, but you start to experience peace, the more your body's going to want to walk towards peace.
Yeah.
Right. So when someone says something horrible to you, that there is going to make you feel so sick that you do not want it anymore.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right. Any other question?
No, I think those are the main ones I think we covered. Thank you. That's really insightful for me. Yeah, it's just something that I mean, there is a pattern, and I'm hoping that just taking those things on board, that hopefully that just builds that the trust and the discernment, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you may not have seen abusive behaviors or what we think is abusive behaviors in your childhood. However, it's a feeling that you're connected to. It's fear. It's the fear of not being good enough, or just like I've done something wrong and now I need to be quiet. And you go into your childhood. There are times when you get to the bottom of it, and it's like, yeah, I didn't score well in school, or I was scared to not score well in school. I was scared of, my parents might not have yelled at me, but they might have said something like, why didn't you get a higher
Right.
mark. So it's
Right.
like, how am I not good enough? So it's the feeling you're looking for, not the behavior.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, you've got this. You got this. Just take your time, trust your feelings. You've got this.
I hope so.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you too. Thanks for sharing your story and trusting me to guide you through this.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. And I hope it helps.
Of course. Alrighty. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.